Alright, today I got a Toro CCR2450 snowblower. It's got a 5 horsepower r-tek engine, and the complaint is it's leaking gas, and the person that happens to own this one has a garage, so if it was outside it probably wouldn't bother him, but it's inside, and then the fumes smell all over his garage and create an explosive atmosphere, I suppose, if you had enough. So I'll show you what's going on here. So I really haven't looked at it much myself. I guess it's running fine, but if you look right there, there is a spot in the snow with blue, which is the fuel additive for the two-stroke. It's dripping there, and if you look above that on the machine, you see the choke there. So it's leaking down from the carburetor. Now, is it the carburetor itself? Is it the fuel line? Don't know. But as far as I know, this is a good running machine. It just leaks. So absolutely no problems. It's been outside in the cold. First pull start. So the leak is the customer issue, and I just confirmed that it is running other than that. So let's see what's going on here. So I've got you off the tripod here. This is what I call the service position. You just tip it forward and it kind of stays right there for you. And let's see. Here's the fuel line. Let me get the flashlight in there for you folks. I can kind of see. There's the bottom of the tank, no leak there. The filter / screen, nothing there. Everything looks dry on the bottom of the filter, screen. That line looks okay, but when I look up in there, I see the bottom of the carb bowl is wet. So I'm going to see if it's the line at the carburetor or the carb itself, or possibly the carb is loose, and the way it's running, I don't think the carb is really loose, but you never know. Let's get into it. So let me start by just taking off this back plate. On some of the older models, you have to take apart a few more things. This is actually an improvement off some of the older ones, where you don't have to take off that front plate and then, you know, try to bend this out of the way. It looks like it's made to come out easily. And luckily they left the bottom open, so when it does leak out, it's only going out of the machine. It's not collecting in there and making a big fire hazard. When you go to start it, you got all this fuel sloshing around on something. Not a bad idea. Looks like this one may have been outside for a while. Clean out all the boogers. So yeah, the fuel hose looks good. This is a plastic carburetor, and if I had to look, I'll get you in close in a minute, but if you look, the dirt line starts all the way up here, as if it's overflowing from there, not just starting here. It's wet above the parting line where that plastic bowl would come off the bottom. I'll get you zoomed in there. Okay, got you back on that same side. So as I was saying, here's the parting line. Here's where it would, if it was leaking at the gasket because it was overflowing a little bit, it would only be wet from here down. But I'm seeing like the dirt is starting from here down, almost like that thing's completely filling up with gas while it's off, obviously, and dripping out, and it's been catching the dirt because of that. Bring you around the other side just so you can see how wet it is. So what I'm seeing is this is all wet. This is all wet up here. It's wet up here. It's almost like that cup has been completely fills, probably from the needle sticking letting a little too much fuel go through while it's sitting. Probably some junk in the needle, or the needle is rock hard and won't seal anymore. So in this case, I've chosen to just replace the carburetor. So as you can tell, I appreciate efficient engineering. They couldn't make it easier for me to change this carburetor, and they have aftermarket replacements that are quite inexpensive. They're not the exact same with the plastic bowl and all, but they're made to fit this one. So that's what I've chosen to do. Just a few things to do to get this out of here. Now that I have it tipped forward, the fuel line is in the up position, the service position, so we will not have fuel pouring out of here, which is nice. This is the primer line. It goes up to the pump primer. These have a really good priming system where it actually pumps air into there and makes it kind of overflood the carburetor. Makes for a one full start. I don't usually do stuff by hand, but this is pretty nice. No air filters needed on a snowblower. They're considered to run in a clean enough environment. They just put this little cup. It's open from the top and closed on the bottom. I'm just going to take this gold part off first. We know the open part goes to the top. We can see there's a gasket there that seals it, so once you prime it, it will not leak out the bottom. Or if it overfills, wink wink. Other than that, we just have to take out the this is the governor control. Take out the spring from its home, and that's literally it. Let's just make sure this is tight. The little intake manifold. These do vibrate a lot, so they could come loose. Unlikely. Looks like this one might have been leaking for a while, because it's got a lot of dirty nasties up on top. Now as far as the new carburetor, again, a little different design. This one's all metal. This one had the plastic bottom on it and is made of completely plastic. This is kind of an old school retrofit replacement. Pretty much same idea with the primer up top there. We got our fuel line to the side, and we'll have to change over this choke assembly lever because they don't know which one you have. This carburetor probably fits 20 different models, and you just have to put whatever choke assembly was made for your machine on there. So we'll swap those over. I'll bring it back. Just to show you a little bit about that, all I did was take that screw out, pop it off the old one, put it on the new one, put the screw back in. Works the same way. As far as where I took it off, in case you didn't catch, that hole right there is the throttle governor. That little thing sticking up is where the spring goes on. Put it back the same way, no problems. As far as gaskets, if you were to goop this all up with a whole bunch of RTV, you would fill in. Some of these are like gravity vent holes, some of them are they're for different purposes. You will fill those and it won't run right, and you'll hate your life. And there can be the same on this way. That tube in there does something. If you goop that full of stuff, you've made a mistake. There is, if you have a gasket, there is no reason for any sealant. The gasket is adequate. As you can see, the factory just used the gasket. They did not put sealant. Do it the same way. You'll run into less troubles. Alright, back to prepping the machine. I'm not going to reuse this old gasket because it does have one hole there that's different than the one on mine, and it's probably pretty compressed by now. The new one comes with two large ones, two small, two of the same, and one with a larger hole. Well, the larger hole, I can't see that being the one because it's really only sealing the outer rim, not the inner rim. So I'm going to use that one, which perfectly fits the hole. I'm not choking it down or anything, and looks good on this side. And that should be cleaned before putting any gasket on it, which I'll do now. Alright. Nice and clean. Put that there. Bolt spacing's good. Center hole is good. Get our throttle in first. Did it go that way? No, how could it? Throttle. Put our spring back onto the one that sticks in the upright position. Now if this was moving around on you, you could put a little gasket sealer there just to hold it, but we're going to be just fine. On this part, I have a nice rubbery gasket, still good there. I'm going to reuse that one instead of the one it came with. I think it's going to seal that gas better. When you first prime it, when you're going to start, that'll actually flood a little bit. You really don't want that to leak out. It just really aids in starting well. And why would you want it to leak on the ground? You'd want it to go into the engine. Double checking that bottom gasket's good. You want these to squish that gasket pretty good. You are only going into aluminum probably, but just make sure they're pretty tight. You are trying to compress the gasket. Alright, this is our primer hose that comes from our primer up top on the control panel. Put that on first. Put our fuel one on. I'm going to cut off ever so slightly of that because it has a crimp already and it fits kind of looser than I'd like. I'm going to take just a hair off of that. Just so where we're clamping next time is a new section. They give you enough hose. At least for one time. There we go. I'm going to leave my panel off for now, and I'm just going to let this thing sit for a few minutes and make sure we don't have any over flooding issues of any other kind for any other reason. And previously I was mentioning that that little cup and the carburetor kind of fills up a little bit. These prime really, really well, these Toros. I'm gonna try to get a close-up of that cup and see if you can see the fuel going into it. Let me get a light set up and get you zoomed in. Okay, so I've got you zoomed in to that carburetor. This is the choke thing, and my flashlight's right above it, so I'm hoping I can get that good shot. And watch that fuel pour in there as I hit the primer button. This is brand new carb, never tried it before. One prime, there's already fuel in there. Two primes, can you see that dripping in there? That's why these start so well, because they have the old school primer with the bulb that looks like that. And when you put your finger over there, you're creating a seal on that hole, and you're pushing air, which is flooding that carburetor. And I'm going to show you a brand new carburetor, never been run, cold engine. how easily this machine will start up. Put the choke on, get my flashlight out of there. I actually had it over flooded probably. Let's take the choke off. Okay, I can tell the throttle is not moving, and I have to find out why. Okay, I can tell you definitively why. Here is the throttle plate that has to move through a range of motion, and it is literally hitting that screw, the one that goes from the intake manifold into the engine. It is literally hitting right there. If I go on this side, it moves freely, but on that side it hits. It is literally made wrong. Good thing with that's the funny thing about aftermarket carburetors. I could either shim the whole carburetor back with more gaskets. I'd rather not do that. I think I'm going to just take that and shave the back of that plastic thing off so it's shorter and doesn't, when it sweeps, it does not hit. That means taking it back apart. I don't mind showing you folks this because you'll run onto the same problem if you get the same aftermarket carburetor I get. Most channels don't show you the real stuff. I don't mind doing it. Now, yeah, technically if I take it off I should put another gasket, but guess what? I got another gasket. Some people reuse them, some people don't. I've done it before, never had a problem, but let's just, because I have one right in the package, it came with two for whatever reason, I will be reusing a different gasket. So I'll take my spring off again, and just this part here was just rubbing on that bolt right there. So all I gotta do is zip, 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 just a little bit. Want to see something cool? Watch a guy makes potential sparks. It shouldn't really, it's plastic, but watch a guy make sparks right near where he just knows there's gasoline right inside that carburetor. Oh, and I just made a hole in my line there. How careless. Now I gotta fix that. Alright. Time to remount. Gasket. My little rod disappeared in there. There it is. Spring. I don't mind showing you folks the struggles. A lot of the other channels, they just edit it out, do it once, oh look at how great I am. Yeah, probably it doesn't work that way in real life. Alright, now I'm going to check to make sure I got full range of motion. Oh yeah, that's not catching on. I should have checked that before. Also, FYI, on this machine, if it's revving too high or too little, all you do is bend this and adjust the pressure of that spring, and it'll either hold the governor on more, off more, whatever you need for speed. You just simply bend it. Now here's the beautiful thing about the mess up I made on this one. I ground into that when I was grinding. It is still long enough. The other one on the last carb, whoops, did I lose you? On the last carb was just a fitting in the carb. This one has a nozzle on it, and it's still long enough. Lucky day. Cut it right where the hole is. And I still got enough. Let's try plan B. Alright, cold engine. Carburetor is installation number 2. I'm just going to go 1 prime. Alright, brand new carburetor installed. Now, again, I had already figured it was going to be the carburetor on this one. The needle and seat for the original carb was $12 plus delivery. The complete carb I got, replacement, aftermarket though, was $16 delivered. So for about the same price, I got a brand new carburetor, and I don't have to guess if it's going to work. Sometimes the needle and seat can be kind of funny. Sometimes they have the screw-in seats, and then there's a gasket, and the gasket's leaking, or there's a crack in the carb, or you never know why. Well, you do. You can look at them, but basically, is it worth your time? And this way, I could send it back knowing it's got a brand new carburetor on it, even though it's aftermarket. It's probably going to work better than a used OEM that I fixed, and I don't want any comebacks on this. So I'll just put the back panel back on and send it. I hereby declare this Toro Wildwood certified. Thanks for watching.